Governor Vic Atiyeh was the most recent Republican governor in Oregon, serving as governor from 1979 to 1987. He was the first elected U.S. governor of Middle Eastern descent, his parents emigrating from Syria and Lebanon. For years, he also ran the family's carpet business. Atiyeh is credited with helping turn tourism into a viable Oregon industry, and he opened up trade between Oregon and the rest of the world, especially Asia. Nicknamed Trader Vic, there's a statue of Vic Atiyeh in the International Concourse of Portland International Airport. He died in 2014 at the age of 91. Pacific University political science professor Jim Moore has just released the definitive biography of Governor Atiyeh. It's right here. It's called Atiyeh, Governor Vic Atiyeh and the Transformation of Oregon. Professor Jim Moore is also the political outreach director of the Tom McCall Center for Civic Engagement, and he's been a frequent analyst on local politics over the years. So, Professor Moore, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
It's good to be with you.
Well, how did you come to write this book?
Well, it's pretty simple. Vic asked me. Vic had an attempt to write a biography of him in the early 2000s. Nothing really came of it. And then in about 2011, he started giving his archives, all his materials, to Pacific University. So I was deeply involved with that. And in 2013, as we were going and doing all that, he said, could you write my biography? And I said, that would be an honor. And so I did. And I was able to interview him 4 times before he died. So that was great. And then, all the rest of the work that came after that.
Now, did you become friends during this process at all?
Yeah, and I had actually known him since the late 1990s. As you mentioned that I've been doing a bit of political analysis for the past 30 plus years.
More than a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he and I knew each other and got to know him a little bit more as time went on. I used to go over and buy a magazine at Rich's Cigar Store, and his office was right around the corner. And I would often see him walking along and we would talk.
In my intro, I talked about Governor Atiyeh setting the stage for Oregon's future.
Yeah.
You talk about that in the book. Explain that a little bit.
Sure. So what I basically came to a conclusion in the book is people move to Oregon because of Tom McCall's Oregon. They want the out of doors. They want the beach bill. They want the bottle bill. They want the quality of life. But they live in Vic Atiyeh's economy. We already had Tektronix here. We already had Intel had just started here. But Vic really took that in the early 1980s and said, we need to expand that. And it wasn't just because we need to change our economy just because it was a good thing to do. It's because we had a horrific recession in the early 1980s that basically stopped the timber industry in its track. And so he was looking for what other manufacturing big-time industry can we get to come to Oregon to put Oregon workers to work. And so basically the high-tech world that we have now in Washington County and other parts of the state was already here, but he's the one who took it to another level, especially with the outreach to international markets and getting Japanese companies to come and build their factories here and that kind of thing.
You touched on this, but in the early 80s, we were in a pretty bad recession. That's actually when I came here, when Vic Atiyeh was governor. It was a tough time. So do you think as governor, he realized that the state pretty much had to make a turn away from the timber industry?
Yeah, he did. His first term, he came into office in 79. 1979 itself was a pretty darn good year, but then the recession hit right after that, late 79, and then going on basically for the next 4 years. So he was doing triage all the time. He and his staff dreaded Fridays because on Friday, that's when there'd be an announcement that a bank was going to go under and it had to be reopened the next Monday with a new owner. It was really brutal. In places like Southern Oregon, there were places where about a third to 40% of the workforce was laid off because a timber plant, a mill, would close. It was really, really, really horrible. So he's doing triage. His chief of staff came on board, the one who was there the longest, came on board in the fall of '81. And she, by about November of '81, she was hearing him say, we've got to look beyond the triage. We have to start looking for what the future is. And then by 1982, he was putting together a plan. Re-elected in '82, so he came in '83 with a strong mandate and said, we got to really change what's happening here. And so that's when he became Trader Vic.
He wasn't known as the most exciting guy in the governor's office, especially coming after Tom McCall a few years earlier, who was very outgoing and bombastic. But he managed to get things done. How?
Well, he was a retail person, so he knew how to figure out what the customer wanted and deliver that. But the second thing is political life. He was always in the minority. He was elected to the legislature, started serving in '59. He was in the minority as a Republican in the state house. Then he moved over to the Senate, just as the House became Republican, but the Senate was firmly Democratic. And so he learned to work with a majority. When he was governor for 8 years, he always had Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate. So he was really good at working behind the scenes. When you're in that position in the legislature, all your influence is in committees. It's not on the floor. And so he became a master at that. As he was able to get things done, he came up with a set of principles. And one of the principles was, don't be afraid not to take credit. Just get things done. And so that's why people haven't heard about him for a lot of these things.
Yeah, we could talk about this forever, but we've only got a couple minutes left. I want to get to his role in having the Columbia River Gorge become a national scenic area. That was big for the state.
That was huge for the state, and there's a lot of different angles on that. Most exciting ones are people who lived in the gorge who lobbied for it. It was great. But he played a crucial role. It was a federal thing, but he's the one who worked with the governor of the state of Washington to do a couple of things. First of all, the entire Washington congressional delegation was against it. And Vic worked with the governor of Washington to turn that around so that the delegation of Washington worked with the delegation in Oregon to get it through Congress. So that was a really, really crucial thing. And the second thing, it's in effect bigger pizzazz, but not quite as important. Right at the end, there was a chance that Ronald Reagan was going to veto it. And Ronald Reagan's chief of staff called Vic Atiyeh, and Vic Atiyeh said, no, 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 no. We don't want to veto it. We want this. This is good for Oregon. This is good for the Pacific Northwest. And so Reagan reluctantly, in his signing statement, he was really reluctant in his signing statement, but he signed it and we got the Columbia Gorge.
Okay, we got less than 30 seconds, and I know this would take more than 30 seconds, but he was also governor during the big Rajneeshi thing.
Oh, good fun, yes.
In Central Oregon. So
yeah. So all I can say is read the book. There's stuff in there that no one's ever heard because he was behind the scenes. When you think of the politics at that time, Norma Paulus, who was our Secretary of State, she's the one that everybody remembers. She was setting up the Rajneeshis. Vic was behind the scenes running everything, including having state police undercover agents in the Rajneesh communities during the entire time and getting amazing intel.
We have to end it there, but Professor Moore, thanks for coming in. Here's the book. Read it. And we'll be right back.